Let's see, this is from Erica. Erica says, my parents are living with me because I need to help them sometimes. They are in their 70s. How do I phrase this to my dates without scaring them? If I'm married, I would live separately, but near them.
Well, that's a great question. And Erica, thank you for caring for your parents. That's a precious thing that, no matter, we can't give back enough as a child to our parents, no matter what. So, I would respond back to you, Erica, don't worry about this, especially at the beginning of a relationship, because if you're going out on some dates, you don't need to come back to your place and feel out the gentleman or how he is, and from that kind of feeling, and then you could share, if it does come up, like my folks live with me, and we need to, figure out certain creative ways to have private time or things like that. And again, it's not going to scare anyone off who really is caring for you, Erica. So I want you to know that, and to dispel that kind of thinking out of your head, and to then kind of attract someone who is going to be okay when you do express, when that time does come, to let them know that, yeah, your parents are living with you right now, and that's that. There's many ways to be creative. I'm learning, in terms of having that quality time, having that connection time. It's kind of similar, as I'll just speak for myself, as this is partly a new aspect of my life. I'm daddy in training now as well. And so with two young kids. So, one is, again, having the quality time with my partner, but also, being there for the kids too. And, and that's such a great question as well. Women, who are single moms wonder if they can really attract a guy to be with them because they have kids. And the answer is most definitely yes. So it's another, for the right guy, for the guy who cares for you, he's going to see that your kids are part of his extension of caring and love. So it's the same thing. The right guy for you, Erica, will understand your caring gift that you're giving to your parents. He's going to take that as a great value, because if you're caring for your parents, then it's also going to say in the future, if needed, you'll be there to care for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's going to be very attractive to the right person. Thank you so much for that, Cary. Okay, let's see. I think we're back to Ken, right?
Yeah, it looks that way.
All right, Ken. And I think she's asking, as a man, what are some cues that let you know you want a second date with a woman?
Oh, I love this question. This is a fabulous question, because everybody wants to know, what am I supposed to do so he wants to ask me out again? I get this question so many times, it's hilarious. Mm-hmm. So let me just share a little something that happened. So for years, I was running these events where it would be a he said, she said kind of thing, where we'd split the room in half, men on one side, women on the other. And we would have each side get to ask questions about the other gender. Every single event I ever held, at least one woman said, what do we got to do to get a second date? That's the big mystery question, right? You don't do anything. It's not about wearing a red dress or smiling really extra or laughing at his jokes. It's about being. So here's the answer that I got from every guy every time. Some variation on, I don't know, there's just something about you makes me want to spend more time with you. And what I reference you to is that old movie, There's Something About Mary. That entire movie was a whole line of guys. The closest they could get was, I don't know, there's just something about Mary. But they all wanted to be near her. So here's the something that it is. It's life force energy. Mm-hmm. Women, when you're glowing, when you're emanating, when you're being your real self, we want it. We don't even know what it is. Most guys have no idea what to call it. It's this vibe. Guys will call it a vibe or a feeling. There's just something we're like, well, I want to be around that more. So stop worrying about what to wear, what to say, or what to do. If the guy's clicking with that, he'll be like, wow, I want to spend more time with this. If he's not, great. It's just not a match. No big deal. If it's not, it doesn't matter what you do. It's not going to change things. It's the same way if a man approaches you, right? So a man comes up and he's going to introduce himself. Before he opens his mouth, you already know if you're interested. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what he says. He could say the smoothest line in the world and you already aren't interested and it won't matter. Or he could say the stupidest thing in the world and you would think, oh, isn't that cute? Because you already decided you liked him. So it's not about what you're doing. We've already made that assessment long before we get there. Be yourself, let that life force energy flow, and that is going to get you to the right people to ask you on a second date.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ken. I really appreciate that. I think that you're tapping into something really important here, which is it's not about doing. It's about being. It's about who you are. And I think sometimes because there's such a plethora of advice out there online and in these kinds of events and that sort of thing, which is valuable. But I think there's so much of it that sometimes women can't even relax and just enjoy being there on a date because they have all of this stuff going through their mind. Oh, I should do this, or I should say that, or this or that or the other. And relaxing and just enjoying the moment and being present and being you, the real you, that's what's going to invite the right man to want to be with you. And I love this term that you said, light force energy.
Yeah, it's life force, your life.
Life force energy.
Yeah, it's the creative energy that allows women to create life. Mm-hmm. You've got it. We don't. We never will. And we like it a lot.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of
you bring that forward, and I know half of you are sitting there going, how do I bring that forward? That's always the next question, right? There's not a how. You do it naturally when you're being authentic. When you're being yourself, it comes forward. And every woman has their own flavor of this. That's why it's not a universal thing. Some guys will be like, wow, that's really attractive to me. And the next guy's like, yeah, didn't do it for me. So know that there's nothing to compare to. You've got your own variation that's going to be magnetic to the right people. Mm-hmm. It's a lot easier than trying to figure out which place to go. Let it happen. Be yourself and be that glowing, radiant woman that you are.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's come forward from these man panels is that it's really incredibly attractive for women to be centered in joy, to be centered in their passions. A lot of the men that I've interviewed have said that part of what attracted them to the woman that they're with is that they could see this woman like being lit from within because she's happy, she's joyful, she's excited about her life, she's sharing her passions, her feelings, and he can see into her heart. And I kind of think this is like kind of your own brand of femininity. This is part of what makes you a feminine woman and helps a man be able to kind of go from that headspace into his heart space a little bit more when he senses that and feels that from you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, let's see. This is from Laurie.
Okay.
She says, this is another common question we all get. With online dating, should you wait for a man to reach out to you first? Don't men like to make the first move, enjoy the chase early on? Also, it gets tiring emailing back and forth. How many emails do you recommend before moving on if a man doesn't ask you for a phone number or for a date? Well, there's a lot there, Dave.
That is. And I'm glad I got that question because I actually wrote a book on online dating called Catch Your Match Formula. I answer those questions in the book. One, how many, what was the first question was, how do you get attention, or do you wait for a man to approach you? Yes, masculine energy is kind of the hunter energy, so you want to kind of inspire it. Does not mean, however, that you cannot green light him. And the way I recommend that you green light a man is you go look through profiles too. You don't have to just sit there, like the maiden just sitting there waiting to get attention. You can go and look at them too. And if you find someone that's kind of intriguing, or if you see something you like, find something in his profile that say, and send it to him. Say, hey, Cary, I was reading your profile. That sounds really great about that thing. Tell me more about living in Hawaii or whatever. Find out something specific to him. Ask him a question about it, because again, open-ended questions from our earlier question presumes he has to answer it. He can't answer with a yes or no. And if he's intrigued, he's now going to say, oh, who's this? And now he's going to look at your profile. So you actually got his eyeballs on your profile. You green lighted him. You gave him permission to respond to you. It makes it easy. And 2, you complimented him. And here's the thing. That's just good dating karma. And I think if you just compliment people, you throw them out there, you don't necessarily need it to come back. But if you just say, hey, I loved what you said in your profile. That was really cool. Well done. Curious about that. If they want to get back to you, great. If they don't, you still gave them a compliment. You still left them better than you found them. So I think it's really, again, elegant and classy. So it's a great way to get on the radar if you're not necessarily on the radar. And the second question after that was, can you remind me?
She was saying it gets kind of tiring going back and forth, and how long should you do that if he doesn't ask you out or it doesn't go to the next step?
I just got this question from a client very recently, and I said, you know what, you need a policy. And the policy is you can actually say, look, I got a pretty full schedule with a demanding job, couple, some kids, this and that. Look, my policy is, I want to meet people sooner rather than later. I'd love to meet and connect with people, but honestly, I really don't have that kind of time. If you're interested, let's get together, have a coffee, sit down, chat, and we'll see about going to the next level there. But let the policy do the work. The policy is, like, I don't have the luxury to sit here and gab for months on end, open-ended. My policy is, if you want to meet, ask me out. And then you'll kind of separate the people who are a little bit more serious from those who are not. And what you're also subtly saying is, like, I got stuff going on. I bring value to the table, and I'm not just here willy-nilly to speak to everybody who wants to throw questions at me. I've got stuff going on. Again, that's a high-value woman. So let the policy do the work and say, happy to chat with you, answer 1 or 2 questions, but then say, look, got to be honest, I got a policy. The policy is this. If you're interested, recommend a time, and let's see if we can make it work. And then they'll either ask you out or they'll fall away. Either way, you got what you needed.
Yeah, so I want to ask you something, Dave. I want to ask a follow-up question, because like this policy thing sounds kind of formal to me. I'm just being honest, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
One of the things, and so I just want to try this on and see what you think. One of the things I recommend, I think it's good to have a policy in your mind, but saying it like, this is my policy, maybe that's setting a standard or boundary. But like, I wonder if the first blush of that could be something like, I'm really enjoying our conversation online and think it would be fun to meet you. If you'd like to suggest a time or ask me out, it'd be great to connect in person. Like, you're still throwing it out and you're still putting the ball in his court, but it, like, to me, sounds like a little bit more inviting, invitational. Just wondering what you think.
Yeah, I think that's great. I'm always about, like, softening it and making it elegant and inviting. But again, at the same time, you're kind of, in the question, underneath of the question was, is it okay to do this? And so that's why I came up with this policy thing. It was just like, look, and it also presupposes that there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of other people that want to talk to you and are using up your not using up your time, but taking your time. And you could, spend a lot of time. Online dating can be very time intensive. And there are some people they're just tire kickers. They're going to want to talk and talk and talk and talk, and they won't move forward. So I think, especially for those after a while, I just think, and call it what you want. You just say it's a preference. I really need to do it sooner. I can't really do it. I'm just using a policy to give people permission to do it because they don't necessarily feel like they're doing it, because it's not a nice girl thing to do. But at the same time, it's effective and it's efficient, and men understand effective and efficient.
Yeah, and it's also centered in a woman knowing her own value, because a woman is not going to continue to invest her time, energy, attention into someone who's not reciprocally doing that back. Right.
100%. Yep.
So I like that.